Hello everyone, I welcome all my South Indian friends to this 2nd July 2017 PIB analysis by me, Dr. Gaurav Garg. And yesterday, whatever feedback you gave, I took it very seriously with utmost sincerity, and most of you said that you don't care about the time. Just let me explain in the way I can, the best possible way, and you don't care about the time. You also told me to include MCQs, but well, MCQs, they take my lot of time. So today I have not included, maybe in future videos. Okay, so let's begin. One very big announcement. And we are launching UPSC test series. So 40 tests you will get for prelims 2018 for 7,500 rupees. We are launching it to 7th of August. For mains 2017, essay writing 15 tests, 6,000 rupees is the price. We are launching it on 8th of July. 5 of our best faculty are part of this team. So grab it, and tomorrow you will be able to pay and buy the test series on our website. Okay, here we go. So July 1st, I will cover today. And what was July 1st? There were 3 important days. We had in India Doctor's Day. So Doctor's Day was there, then CA Day was there, Chartered Accountant Day, and State Bank of India celebrated its 58th Bank Day in Chennai again on 1st of July, that was Monday. So State Bank of India, it was on this day in 1955, July the 1st, that the Imperial Bank of India was reconstituted by an Act of Parliament to create SBI. So SBI was earlier Imperial Bank of India, and then Parliament converted it into State Bank of India. And we also had the most important day, which was the Chartered Accountant Day. Why I am calling it most important is not because of the profession, but because of what our Prime Minister did. So basically, why we celebrate it as Chartered Accountant Day is because Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, ICAI, was founded on this day. ICAI. And Narendra Modi ji, our Prime Minister, Honorary Prime Minister, he gave a brilliant speech on this day. What did he say? He said that in 2016, it was a landmark year in the history of India because the black money, okay, let's not use the word black money, let's use the word just money. The money that was deposited by Indians in Swiss banks hit a record low. Only 4,500 crore rupees was deposited in 2016 by Indians in Swiss banks. Please note that opening an account in Swiss bank does not mean that you are putting black money there. You are stashing black money in the tax havens. Anybody can open account in Swiss bank. I can open, you can open. But if that is black money, then of course it is trouble. So Indians deposited 4,500 crore rupees in 2016, which was 45% less compared to previous years. So to give you some idea, see, right now the country which deposits maximum money in Swiss banks is United Kingdom. Okay, keep that in mind. UK. India is at 88th position now. So India slipped to all the way down to 88th position, which is a good thing. Okay, because in 2015, 1 year before this, we were 75. Before that, we were 61. In fact, till 2007, we were in top 50 countries. In terms of depositing of money, in terms of quantity of money that was stashed in Swiss banks by Indians. In fact, in the year 2004, we were 37 in the ranking. Now we are all the way down to 88, and 37th was our highest ranking. And the lowest money in the history was in last year in 2016, only 4,500 crore. So Narendra Modi was basically giving the government the credit that government is trying its best to reduce the black money which is stashed in the tax havens and so on. Next, let's talk about Election Commission of India. So basically, Election Commission of India, it has launched a countrywide, nationwide, 1 month long special drive. Why they have launched a special drive? Because they want to maximize the registrations of eligible voters. So basically what happens is, a lot of people, they don't register themselves as voters, and for that they are taking help of Facebook also. They have tied up with social media website Facebook. Facebook will remind the voters to register their election card and so on. And another thing, India follows universal adult franchise. When do we call a person adult? When he or she turns 18-year-old. So in India, anybody who turns 18-year-old can vote. This is known as universal adult franchise. But it was not always the case. Now let me tell you why. So Election Commission was established on 25th of January, just 1 day before our Republic Day in 1950. Okay, and that is why 25th January every year we observe as National Voters Day. So what happened was, when Election Commission was established, it was it was only one member institution. There was only one member, and he was the Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, but then what happened in 1989? 61st Amendment of the Constitution was passed. We amended the Constitution for the 61st time. And what was the 61st Amendment? That our voting age will be reduced from 21 years to 18 years. Now imagine this. Can one member handle everything? Can one member, uni-member body? Because see, when the election age will be reduced from 21 to 18, there will be so many more voters, so much more load. That is why in 1989 Election Commission there was an amendment, that is the Election Commissioner Amendment Act of 1989, which made it a multi-member body. So earlier there used to be just one guy, Chief Election Commissioner, but now there are two members to help him, that is Election Commissioner, two Election Commissioner and one Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, so right now Chief Election Commissioner is Mr. Dr. Naseem Ahmed Zaidi, he is the Chief Election Commissioner, and the Election Commissioners are two, Shri A.K. Jyoti and Om Prakash Rawat. Another very important thing, Election Commissioner is appointed by the President for 6 years or 65 years is the date, whichever is earlier. For example, if a person is 62, he is appointed as Chief Election Commissioner by the President of India, then when he reaches 65 years, he will have to retire. Okay, or 6 years, whichever is earlier. Another most important point, there are four people who cannot be reappointed. One is the Chief Information Commissioner, then we have the Chairman of UPSC, then we have the Chief Election Commissioner and the Comptroller and Auditor General. These four people cannot be reappointed. So Chief Information Commissioner right now is Mr. Vijay Sharma. Vijay Sharma, not Vijay Goyal. Vijay Goyal is the Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs. UPSC Chairman, he has a very different kind of surname, David Salmalia, something like that. David Salmalia is the UPSC Chairman. CEC is Dr. Naseem Ahmed Zaidi, and Comptroller and Auditor General is Shashikant Sharma. These four people cannot be reappointed. Keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the most important thing that will occupy the bulk of the lion's share of today's video, which is the GST. I have covered it in depth, in detail. One nation, one tax, one market, and one Dr. Gaurav Garg. Next. So President's speech. So see what happened. President did not, he doesn't miss even one opportunity to come to the fore, and as such, President is about to retire. So the next President will be one among Meera Kumar. Meera Kumar is daughter of Babu Jagjeevan Ram. She is a Dalit leader, and she was also the Lok Sabha Speaker also, if you remember, in UPA government. And Meera Kumar is daughter of Babu Jagjeevan Ram. She is the UPA candidate. Congress and friends are called UPA, United Progressive Alliance. And then from BJP side you have Ramnath Kovind. Ramnath Kovind was the governor of Bihar, and he is the candidate from BJP and friends, also called National Democratic Alliance. So BJP is friends like Shiv Sena, Shiromani Akali Dal and so on. So Ramnath Kovind will most likely 99.99% will be the next President of India, because BJP has numbers in the houses. So President Pranab Mukherjee, basically Modi, he called special session of Parliament, which is very unique, because this was only the 5th time in the history of India that special session of Parliament was called. So when other times it has been called, 1947 when we got independence, you remember, A Tryst with Destiny, Jawaharlal Nehru gave one of the best speeches in the history of India. That time special session of Parliament was called. Then in 1972 when we completed 25 years of independence. Then in 1992 when we completed 50 years of Quit India movement, because Quit India movement was in 1942. And then in 1997 when we completed 50 years of independence. So these are the only 4 times in the history of Indian Parliament that a special session has been called. But this time, to make GST, launch memorable and on a grand scale, special session of Parliament was called, and President gave a brilliant speech. So what did he say? He said that this is a culmination of a 14-year-long journey, which began in December 2002 when the Kelkar Task Force on Indirect Taxation during Atal Bihari Vajpayee time government suggested that there should be GST. Okay, but this is not true exactly, because GST procedure had started much earlier, and I will give you the entire timeline. But just to make President's speech sanctimonious, I will cover it. So the proposal to introduce GST was first mooted in the budget speech for the financial year 2006. This he was correct, because in 2006 P. Chidambaram was the finance minister, and in his 2006 speech during UPA 1 government, in the Congress government, he gave the speech in which he first mentioned about goods and services tax. So now let me take you through to the entire timeline, and this is one of the most important things that you can memorize. So as you know, GST is the biggest tax reform in independent India. In the 70 years of Indian independence, it is the biggest tax reform. It will modernize India, which is the 3rd largest economy in Asia. And so basically, we want one nation, one tax. So let's start. First, in 1986, the finance minister that time was Vishwanath Pratap Singh. Vishwanath Pratap Singh was the finance minister, and first time he proposed that our taxation structure should be completely transformed. It should be, completely overhauled. Okay, and he was the finance minister. So in 1986-87, that is financial year 1987 speech, he gave the concept of that there should be a complete overhauling of the complete transformation of the taxation structure in India. Then in the year 2000, that time Prime Minister was Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and he introduced the concept. He set up a committee which was headed by the then finance minister of West Bengal. His name was Asim Das Gupta. Remember this name, Asim Das Gupta, because this name will become important in the timeline. And he designed the GST model. Now in 2003, Atal Bihari Vajpayee formed a task force under Vijay Kelkar. Who is Vijay Kelkar? I'll explain you. So Vajpayee formed a task force, and what was the purpose of forming this task force? To basically advise and prepare a blueprint for GST. So in 2004, Vijay Kelkar, he was an advisor in the Ministry of Finance, and he recommended GST to replace the existing tax regime. Now let me tell you about who is Mr. Vijay Kelkar. So Vijay Kelkar, I told you, he was in Vajpayee government. He was the advisor in the Ministry of Finance, but he was also the finance secretary from 1998-1999 Government of India. And also he was the chairman of 13th Finance Commission. Now at this juncture, I must tell you what is a Finance Commission. Finance Commission is it's a body. It came into existence in 1951 and it was established under Article 280 of the Indian Constitution by the President of India. This is very, very important. Article 280 Finance Commission, and Finance Commission was established by the then President of India, the first President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And basically the purpose of Finance Commission, the objective or the function of Finance Commission is to decide how much money is the center going to give to the state. So you must have heard about the packages. For example, Bihar got a package of 1,16,000 crore, you know, like that. So the center, it distributes the taxes which it collects into the various states, and what ratio the center will distribute, that is determined by the Finance Commission. Okay, and why this is important? Otherwise all the tax will be in the hands of center only. Okay, because bulk of the tax is collected by the center. So what will happen? Center will become very, very strong, and there will be unitary government. Unitary means all the power is centralized. But what do we want? Do we want that state should not have any role in India? No. In a vast country of the size of India, we need very strong states. So we need a federal structure. What is the meaning of federal structure? Federal structure means when the power is distributed between the center and the states. That is called a federal structure. Like America, like India, whereas there is unitary government also, like we have in UK and a lot of Islamic countries where all the power is in the hands of the center, you know, and the states cannot do anything. So what is the recommendation of the Finance Commission? So let me tell you, the 12th Finance Commission which was there, it recommended that whatever the tax is collected by the central government, 30.5% of that should be distributed to the states. Then came the 13th Finance Commission, which was headed by Vijay Kelkar. Vijay Kelkar, by the way, is a very renowned economist. He has also got the second highest civilian award of India, Padam Vibhushan. And he said it should be increased by 1.5%. So he increased from 30.5% to 32%. Then came 14th Finance Commission, which was headed by Y.V. Reddy. So Y.V. Reddy, in fact, right now also we have 14th Finance Commission. It will be operational from 2015 to 2020. And it is only in the 2020 year that we will have the 15th Finance Commission. So 14th Finance Commission, its chairman is Y.V. Reddy. Right now, who is the chairman of Finance Commission? Y.V. Reddy. And who is Y.V. Reddy? So right now we have Urjit Patel, who is the governor of RBI. Before that we have Raghuram Rajan. Before that we have D. Subba Rao. And before that we have Y.V. Reddy. So Y.V. Reddy has also been the governor of Reserve Bank of India. Very, very learned fellow and also Padam Vibhushan awardee. So Y.V. Reddy said that the center should distribute 42% of the taxes to the state. So there was a jump of 10% from the 13th Finance Commission. Why? This is an example of cooperative federalism. What is cooperative federalism? See, these words, if you write in your answers, you will get lot of marks. Decentralization of power, cooperative federalism. As the name says, we have a federal structure, which means power is distributed in between the center and the state. So they are cooperating, which means center is let go some of its power to the state, so that the country can be governed in an efficient and effective manner. And that is called the decentralization of power. That is, not all the power is accumulated in the hands of a few, but it is segregated, it is distributed, and it is distributed between the center and the state. That is called decentralization of power. So if the center distributes the money to the state, that is an example of cooperative federalism. Now, one more thing, 14th Finance Commission said that our fiscal deficit needs to be reduced to 3% of the GDP by 2017 fiscal. That is financial year 2018, 1st April 2017 to 31st March 2018. That is, if imagine come 2018, 31st March, we will look at our fiscal deficit. It should be only 3% of the GDP. Now that is also a lot, but for now we need 3% of the GDP because our fiscal deficit is huge. How huge it is? So in 2016-17, that is last fiscal, it was 3.5% of the GDP. Okay, and what is Reserve Bank of India saying? Reserve Bank of India is saying that we need to bring it down to 3.2% in the next fiscal, that is this current fiscal. So it is saying that it is possible to reduce the fiscal deficit from 3.5% to 3.2%. But what is 14th Finance Commission saying? We need to bring it down to 3%. Now, can we reduce the fiscal deficit? See, it is becoming very difficult. I'll tell you why. Because there is a kind of a, a socialist type atmosphere that is being created in India now because the politicians, they have just one role, one aim in mind, that is to win election. And one of the best ways to win election is that you undertake socialism, some form of socialism. I'm not saying it is the socialism of the 40s and 30s. No, it is a kind of a populist measure. For example, you saw in Tamil Nadu, Jayalalitha, when she was alive, she had this Amma canteen, Amma pharmacy, and that put a lot of load on the exchequer. Okay, like for example, you are seeing that states are providing free laptops and all these things. They are again populist measure to influence public opinion. They want to win election, as simple as that. And now what is happening is that Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and a lot of states, they are waiving the farmer loans. Is it a good practice? Where will the money come from? And this farmer loan is not small, 30,000 crore, 40,000 crore, 50,000 crore, and the states are like, we completely forgive it. Okay, we completely waive it. And let me tell you how much load this will put. So agriculture loan, they account for 14% of the total bank lending in India. So whatever is the total money that the banks give as loan, 14% is agriculture loan, and this is 6.5% of GDP. So can we really risk? Can all the states of India completely waive off all the farmer loans? Is it a good practice? Then what will a farmer need? He will simply go to the bank, take loan, and then cry foul that, oh, I will commit suicide and completely waive my farm loan. So all the financially healthy farmers will also get an excuse, and also it is not a good practice. This is not governance. This is not what you call governance. So that is putting a lot of money, lot of load on the exchequer. That is why it is becoming increasingly difficult to control fiscal deficit in India. Another problem is that we are having a lot of these social security schemes and Atal Pension Yojana and all these schemes, and Uday, for example. Uday, what is Uday? Ujjaval Discom Assurance Yojana, which is to infuse a new lease of life into the power distribution companies, which have crores of rupees, lakhs of crores of rupees of debt, and that debt now is owned by the state. So therefore, with schemes like Uday, it is becoming increasingly difficult. What is fiscal deficit, by the way, if you still haven't figured out? See, one is your income, one is your expenditure. If your expenditure is more than your income, that is called a deficit. As simple as that, that is called fiscal deficit. So if the government's expenditure is more than the income, that is called a fiscal deficit. Now that fiscal deficit we calculate in terms of crores of rupees, and then we calculate it as a percentage of GDP. So what is the target that Arun Jaitley said for fiscal deficit in the budget of 2017-18? That is the latest budget which he announced 3 months back in the budget session, 3.2%, same as RBI. RBI is also saying that we need to bring it down to 3.2%. And Arun Jaitley is also saying we need to bring it down to 3.2%. Financial Commission of India is saying, 14th Finance Commission of India is saying we need to bring it down to the 3% of the GDP. Now let's talk about GST in depth, in detail. So I was already on the point of GST, and this is another thing that Reserve Bank of India is saying. Reserve Bank of India is saying that right now we have a political stability in India because we have a government which has a majority, and I mean there is every chance that this government will at least complete second term. That is, Modi will complete 10 years. And then we have a GST now. So because of that, our gross value added growth is expected to be high. That is 7.3% in the current fiscal. That is what the Reserve Bank of India is saying. And also there are other factors, like for example, GST is a reform. So our economy will grow and real estate sector will grow. And we have reformed our FDI also, foreign direct investment also. Now we are making a lot of investment go through the automatic route. And therefore a lot of investment is coming in India. This will propel economic growth, and therefore our economic growth will be huge. It will be 7.3% in this fiscal, as the Reserve Bank of India is saying. Another important thing, Niti Aayog. Now Niti Aayog, we replaced Planning Commission by Niti Aayog in 2013. National Institution for Transforming India. Niti Aayog chairman is ex officio Prime Minister. So whoever is the Prime Minister automatically becomes the chairman of the Niti Aayog, as was the case with the Planning Commission of India. Planning Commission chairman was who? Always the Prime Minister. So Niti Aayog chairman is Prime Minister, Vice Chairman is Arvind Pangaria, and CEO is Amitabh Kant. Please don't confuse Arvind Pangaria with Arvind Subramaniam. Arvind Subramaniam is the Chief Economic Advisor, not the Niti Aayog's Vice Chairman. Okay. So Niti Aayog, what did Niti Aayog say? Niti Aayog said that the goods and services tax will increase our GDP by 1.5%. But is it true? No, it's not true. And in fact, this has been said that this is rubbish. The word rubbish was used by Bibek Dev Roy. Who is Bibek Dev Roy? Bibek Dev Roy is the member of Niti Aayog only. So how can one member of Niti Aayog go against his own Niti Aayog? It's possible if the member is honest. So Bibek Dev Roy, if you remember, he was also the chairman of the railway turnaround committee that proposed significant changes in railway, that also had proposed that we need to merge railway budget with the general budget. That was all Bibek Dev Roy committee recommendation for transforming railways. So Bibek Dev Roy is an honest Niti Aayog member, and he has said this is rubbish. It is not like that because of GST our GDP will grow by 1.5% more. Why? Because this GST is compromised. Why GST is compromised? See, the original GST was very idealistic, okay, but then you had the opposition parties crying foul again and again, and this is not good for the country, we will have revenue loss and all this. That is why GST was not idle. GST was not idle because of federalist nature. We had to bring on board the contrary views also. We had to bring on board the opposition parties also, and they suggested significant changes in the original GST, which was the ideal GST. So yes, had it been ideal GST, there could have been 1.5% growth as told by NITI Aayog, but this is far from ideal. In fact, GST Council, why did we set up GST Council? So that both states and center can discuss in the GST Council. And let me tell you, in GST Council, it is all voting. So states cannot encroach upon center, and center cannot give the directions to state. They both have their independent voting rights. So GST Council is for that, and we have to make many compromises to make sure there is cooperative federalism. Now let me ask you a question. Then this is how UPSC tricks you. First statement is this: around 150 countries in the world have GST. Okay, this is the first statement. And second statement is this: India is the first federal country to have GST. So, you know, in UPSC you will have questions like both 1 and 2 are correct, only first is correct, only second is correct, and things like that. There might be more statements also. So the answer is both are wrong, and I'll tell you why. So this is what Bibek Dev said. Bibek Dev, as I said, is a NITI Aayog member. He said that there are many countries in the world, they have value-added tax but not GST. So to say that 150 countries in the world have GST, it is rubbish. And he actually used the word rubbish. Let me tell you another thing. Only 6 or 7 countries in the world have GST. That's it. And India is only the second country in the world which is federal also and which has GST also. The only other country is Canada. So Canada is the first country in the world which is federal and it has goods and services tax, both. This was said by Bibek Dev yesterday. So, and what is the problem with GST? There are multiple tax rates. So you have 5%, 12%, 28%, you know, 18%. So that is another problem with the GST, multiple tax rate. It makes it very, very confusing. Calculations become so difficult, and I'll tell you more the criticism when I will criticize the GST. So let me take you through to the timeline after what happened after 2005. Vijay Kelkar and all these guys did their job. They suggested a blueprint. Then in 2006, Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, he said that from 1st April 2010, we will roll out the GST. But was it so easy? And for that, he started his work. For example, in 2008, there was an empowered committee of state finance ministers. That is, this empowered committee will have all the state finance ministers. It was constituted, and this empowered committee then gave a report which was called a model and roadmap goods and services tax in India to the government. This report was like a blueprint for the rollout of the GDP. Then in 2008, after the report was submitted in 2009, this empowered committee submitted a discussion paper, and they invited debate and discussion. In 2009, the finance minister was changed. It was Pranab Mukherjee, not P. Chidambaram anymore, because this was the UPA 2 government. So Pranab Mukherjee, who is right now the president, was then finance minister of India. So Pranab Mukherjee, he announced that the basic structure of GST is as per the Das Gupta committee. And he said that we will roll out from April the 1st, 2010. But then BJP started opposing. And this is one habit of BJP that was not good that time. They opposed anything that Congress did. In fact, let me tell you, there were not even debates in the parliament. Because of Telangana, there was always some disruption. And then in Anna Hazare, later on Anna Hazare movement in 2012, and I mean, there were all sorts of disruptions of parliament. Parliament was not allowed to function at all. And BJP completely opposed GST. Not only GST, they opposed Manrega also. And now we have the same BJP which has allotted 48,000 crore for Manrega, which is the highest ever in the history of Manrega. Anyways, so in February 2010, Finance Ministry, it started computerization of the commercial taxes in the states to bring, you know, to lay the foundation, to lay a metrics on which the GST can be put upon. And then Pranab Mukherjee said that it is too soon, we will do it after 1 year. So from 2010 deadline, they did it April 1, 2011. And then what happened in 2011 when they tried to do it, you know, they introduced the bill in Lok Sabha, and the bill was referred to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. It required a lot of discussion and debate, and this standing committee was led by opposition person Yashwant Sinha, who had also been a finance minister in the BJP Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. And then Asim Das Gupta, he finally resigned, and he was replaced by the Kerala finance minister of that time, KM Mani. Then what happened in 2012, and all this is very, very important. You should know the background of GST. So in 2012, finance minister was again P. Chidambaram, and he held a meeting with the state finance ministers. He tried his best to solve all the issues by December 1st, 2012. So he thought that if the issues can be resolved by December 31st, 2012, we can roll it out on April the 1st, 2013. But was it so easy? And this was the time when you had the Anna Hazare movement and every session of the parliament was a washout. So in February 2013, Chidambaram, he went a step ahead to accommodate BJP. He said that if there is any loss because of GST in your revenue, I will compensate it. The center will give 9,000 crore rupees to compensate the states for losses because of GST. Then in August 2013, the Parliamentary Standing Committee submitted its report in the Parliament and suggested some changes. And Narendra Modi said that I will completely oppose GST tooth and nail because it will cause a loss of 14,000 crore of revenue, to the just Gujarat. Then in 2014, GST bill was cleared by the Standing Committee. But then again, the Congress government was changed in the May of 2014. Now the BJP has come to power. So what happened when BJP came to power? Now the real story starts. So in December 18, 2014, Cabinet approved 122nd Constitution Amendment Bill to GST. Now this is the most important part. If somebody asks you that GST is which amendment bill? It is 122nd Amendment Bill. Okay, Constitution Amendment Bill. Okay. If somebody asks you GST is which Constitution Amendment Act? It is 101st. Okay, 101st Amendment Act and 122nd Amendment Bill. Now you will ask me, what is the difference between a bill and an act? See, bill is a rough draft that is introduced in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha depending upon what type of bill it is. So for example, if it is a money bill, it can only be introduced in Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha has no role to play. It can maximum delay the bill. It can give recommendation. Money bill, you need the permission of the president to introduce a money bill. If it is a Constitution Amendment Bill, you can't call a joint session and it needs a special majority. Money bill and finance bill, they need a simple majority. So there are all kinds of things. But important thing to understand is that an act is after it has been signed by the President of India. So when a bill is passed by both the houses, Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, it goes to the President for the signature, and only after the signature of the President does it become an act. Okay, keep that in mind. That is the difference between a bill and an act. So it was 122nd Constitution Amendment Bill, but it was 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. Now what happened was that Arun Jaitley, he faced now his own music. Now BJP was opposing, now Congress and Mamata Banerjee and everybody started opposing the GST bill, and it was not easy. Now came 2015 and Lok Sabha passed the GST Constitutional Amendment Bill. Now in 2015 it was presented in Rajya Sabha, but again BJP got a taste of their own medicine. In Rajya Sabha it was not passed and everybody said that you cap it at 18%. But government was not willing to do it. Government was saying we cannot cap it at 18%. We have more plans, because you have seen now it is 28% also. So August came 2015 and government fails to win the support of the opposition to pass the bill in the Rajya Sabha, and that is why BJP was trying to introduce it as a money bill so that the Rajya Sabha is bypassed, but it wasn't to be. So in July 2016, everybody started opposing GST and they said cap it at 18%. But then BJP tried to bring everybody on board and finally they became successful. Let me give BJP some credit here that they dealt with it very, very delicately in a very fastidious manner, and they took everybody's views, they accommodated everybody's views, and on September 8th, 2016, it got the signature of the president after it was passed by both the houses. And please let me tell you, it needed ratification by 50% of states also, because it is an amendment bill. And we have 29 states of India, so 50% or more states need to ratify it, approve it. So 16 states ratified the GST bill, and Pranab Mukherjee gave his assent to the bill. That is, he signed the bill and it became an act. So now the bill is an act. It's finally needs to be implemented, and now the old act is repealed, which means the government needs to apply it very, very soon, because if it gets delayed, then the country has no tax system at all. And that is why government is trying its best to now of course it has rolled it out, but it's much too sooner, and I'll tell you why. So then they started GST Council. GST Council was formed, and GST Council had adequate representation from the center and the states, and in such a manner that the states will not interfere with the center and center will not interfere with the states. So GST Council was a great example of a cooperative federalism. And the first meeting of the GST Council took place on September 22nd, 23rd, and till now 18 meetings have taken place. So November 3rd, 2016, 4 tax slab structure were proposed: 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%, which is right now also. And there were some cess, additional taxes on luxury and sin goods like tobacco and all these luxury items. Then in January 2017, because Jaitley said that we will roll it out, and so budget session was there. He presented budget and he brought everybody on board, and there were a lot of contentious issues regarding taxing, and a lot of states were saying that we will have revenue losses and all that. So Jaitley brought in 4 bills, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 bills. These are CGST, IGST, UTGST and compensation bill. Compensation bill was that if any state feels there is a revenue loss, they will compensate it by the center in the initial stages. Then all these state GST and all these bills were brought in and they were passed. So this was the most important part. All the 4 bills were passed by both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And May 18, GST Council, it examined 1200 goods and they were fitted in the 4 tax slabs of 5, 12, 18 and 28. Somewhere you will also see 0%, but that basically means it is exempted. So now let me tell you one criticism of GST. 45% of the goods in India are outside the ambit of the GST still. So for them again we will have those service tax, VAT tax and whatnot, and calculations will become difficult. It will be very, very difficult to implement. See, every policy of the government is good. It is only the implementation that makes it good or bad. Government never makes any policy for the for harming the people of the country. Okay. So let's see how it is implemented. And then GST Council, it put some tax on the luxury goods and sin goods so that states can compensate for the revenue losses. And May 19, GST Council decided these 4 as service tax slabs. Now, very, very latest. What happened in the last 10 days? So every state virtually has passed the state GST law except Jammu and Kashmir. And June the 28th, Mamata Banerjee and Congress and many other parties, they said that we will not attend the GST special session of the parliament that was called by Modi to make it a historic event. And they did not. But GST is now rolled out. Now let me criticize GST. But before I criticize, let me complete the speech of the President of India for what it is worth. He said that on 8th of September 2016, Lok Sabha passed it, Rajya Sabha passed it, and I signed it. So my confidence was restored because he said that a scheme of the magnitude of GST required tremendous coordination between the center and the state, and I'm proud that there was cooperative federalism. And after the amendment of the constitution, the GST Council was constituted. Now in the exam, they will surely ask that GST Council was constituted as per the provision of which article? Article 279A of the constitution. And this council is basically, it will have union also, central government also and states also. And they will decide the rates, exemptions, they will make laws. This is a unique concept in our constitution, GST Council. And it is a joint forum of the center and the states where neither the center nor the states can, without the support of the other, take any decision. See, this is very important. Center and the state, they both need to take the decision. Only will the GST Council function, otherwise it will not function. So if somebody asks you, give an example of cooperative federalism, which are examples can you give? 14th Finance Commission, you can say that 42% of the tax should be distributed to the states. That is an example of cooperative federalism. You can also say about decentralization of power. You can tell about the GST Council. You can also tell about Niti Aayog, because in Niti Aayog also there is adequate representation from the states now. It is a step up from the Planning Commission. These are all some examples you can write in your answers to make it beautiful. So GST Council, how many meetings have taken place so far? 18 meetings have been 18 meetings so far. Okay, next. Now the president also said, he mentioned lot of taxes. He said that the central excise duty, it will be no more. It will be subsumed by the GST, sorry. GST basically has eaten away all the other taxes, indirect taxes. All the indirect taxes have been eaten away by GST, barring a few. So excise duty will not be there. So president said that excise duty is a source of revenue, lot of revenue for the central government. But I hope that central government does not suffer because of GST. Then service tax and additional customs duty, special addition of customs, and so many things are there. So I will just summarize it in one slide. These are the taxes which the GST has replaced. All of these taxes are no more. They have been consumed, or the right word is subsumed, by the GST. Most important is these two, value added tax and service tax, and also sales tax. Then entertainment tax. Forget these small taxes, octroi and all. Don't go too deep in that. Remember your basic concepts. Service tax, VAT, and all these have been subsumed by the GST. So this is a column from a newspaper I found where it's written which item has become costlier, which item has become cheaper. You do not need to remember, but you do need to remember the impact of it. For example, all our daily items which we get from mom and pop stores, the kirana stores, and they are absolutely essential for our survival, like the egg, meat, honey, fruits, vegetables, flour, all of these have been exempted. And healthcare and education have been exempted. This is the most important thing, healthcare and education, because in India we are suffering. Why we are suffering? Because healthcare is getting privatized. Nobody wants to go to a government hospital, and as such government hospitals are very less. And to be fair to the government is trying to open a lot of AIIMS and all this, but still too far and too few. And education is also getting privatized. We have very few government schools. Quality is not good. So healthcare and education have been exempted because already the poor person is not able to afford the private education, private healthcare. How will he afford if there is additional burden? So healthcare and education both are exempted from the GST. Now these are the major losers. Okay. Don't include fertilizer because government has woken up and it has decreased GST of, earlier it kept fertilizer in 12%, now it has been kept in 5% after the 18th meeting. Very, very latest, I'm telling you. Because there was a lot of criticism by the farmers that you want us to use fertilizer, we are creating a agriculture based economy, you want to do good for us, and on the other hand you are putting the fertilizer in the 12% bracket, so we will have to bear the load. So government went back on its decision on fertilizer. It has reduced, the Minister of Fertilizer is Ananta Kumar. He has reduced the GST from 12% to 5% on fertilizer. Okay, but apart from that, it's the same. Your telecom services, look, 15 to 18%. Most important is banking, 15% to 18%. So your banking services will become costly. Mobile phones and luxury hotel and costly cars and all that will become very, very costly. So these are some of the things that were published. Your tax burden will come down for these and it will go up for these. Now let me criticize GST in detail. First is that inadequate time. See, this is the habit of government. In demonetization also we saw that, out of a bolt from the blue, Modi gave a speech on the night of the 8th November and he said from tomorrow, 500 and 1000 rupees are demonetized. So the implementation was a major factor in the demonetization, even though the intentions of the government were good. Similarly, look at GST. Let me give you an example of Malaysia. Malaysia has GST, okay, but it has only one uniform tax rate. It does not have 4 tax rates, 5, 12, 18 and 28. It has only 6%. And also Malaysia gave a time of 18 months, 1.5 years to prepare the system for GST. What did Indian government do? Let me give you an example. Our cabinet secretary, just 2 weeks before, on 20th of June, he calls up all the secretaries of the 30 central ministries, like the secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, secretary in the Ministry of Defense and so on. And he tells all the 30 central ministries to do publicity campaigns, to do outreach programs for the public, to make the public aware. Is it enough time? You are rolling the GST from 1st of July and on 20th of June you are calling a meeting that let public know about the GST. And that is why there is so much confusion. So implementation is a major issue. That is one criticism. The rates were finalized less than 2 months back. See, 1st July you are rolling it out. And in mid of April, in the mid of May in fact, you are finalizing the rates. Very less time. No time for preparation for anyone. That is first criticism. Second and most important is the issue of profiteering. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say you are buying, there is a product called ABC. Okay, it is priced at 100 rupees in the market. So you are going to the market and how it was priced at 100 rupees was 100 rupees is the maximum retail price. But is MRP? MRP is the maximum price that the retailer can charge you. Otherwise, he will be in legal suit. So 80 rupees is the price of the product and 20 rupees is the indirect tax on the product. That makes it 100 rupees MRP. So 20 rupees is many taxes, indirect taxes like the VAT, service tax maybe, or let there be X taxes. So 80 rupees plus X, Y, Z, these are the 3 taxes, indirect taxes, and now it is the product is 100 rupees. So you pay 100 rupees and you bring the product home. Now what has happened? These 3 taxes X, Y and Z, they are replaced by GST. Now let's say this product is put in the 18% category. So you don't have to pay 20 rupees now, you have to pay 18 rupees now. So what will happen now? The product will cost 98 rupees instead of 100, but the MRP is still 100. Do you really expect the shopkeeper to give you 2 rupees discount saying no, now it is in 18%? And also there are thousands of products. How will you remember which product is in which bracket? It is a lot of confusion. That is why multiple tax slabs are a confusion. One more thing. Let's say you are an educated fellow. You go to the shopkeeper and you tell, why are you charging me 100 rupees when the price has to be only 98 rupees, because 80 is the price and 18% is the GST. So you should charge me 98 rupees. This I'm just telling for the calculation. Don't see the 18% of 80 is that and all that. Okay, apply common sense. I'm just giving you an example to make you understand. So 98 rupees is what you should charge me instead of 100 rupees. I will do a case on you. Now please note that in GST there is no concept of punishment. Okay, and this question was asked to Arun Jaitley. Arun Jaitley had no answer. Arun Jaitley was asked, what if the shopkeeper does not give the advantage of decrease in prices to the consumer? What will you do? He said, we will sort it out in the income tax, because his income will increase and we will catch him in income tax. That was his answer. So this is not a good answer. Anyways, next. There are technical problems. This is very, very important. See, GST, it is expected that there will be 300 crore transactions every month. done by 80 lakh businesses in India. Okay. And who will manage these 300 crore transactions? There is a network which is called the Goods and Services Tax Network. The CEO of GSTN is Mr. Prakash Kumar and the chairman is Mr. Praveen Kumar. Remember these both names for your MCQs. So Goods and Services Tax Network is basically a IT platform that will implement the GST. And this IT platform will be managed by Infosys. So it's like this. You have the GST which will be implemented by the GSTN, and GSTN will further be implemented by the Infosys company, which is the second largest information technology company in India. Now, are the systems ready? So let me tell you what Chairman Naveen Kumar said about GSTN. He said, look, it will take few months. In fact, it will take 3 to 4 months for stabilization. In fact, 3 to 4 months is a conservative estimate he gave. It will take at least 1 year before the computers can, they can tolerate and they can bear all the transactions, and there is a synergy, there is a harmony between the transactions and everything. So there will be technical problems. And what is GSTN? It is a information technology backbone of GST implementation. And GSTN has 51% equity in 5 private companies. That is HDFC Bank 10%, HDFC Limited 10%, ICICI Bank 10%, National Stock Exchange Strategic Investment Corporation 10%, and LIC 11%. So it owns 51% of these 5 companies. Together, I mean, somewhere 10, somewhere 10, like that. And the government has 24.5% share in the GSTN. And it is only in April 2012, a special purpose vehicle, that is the GSTN, was approved for creation by the government for GST implementation. And now let me tell you about conflict of interest. So in April 2012, there was a committee which was formed under the chairmanship of Nandan Nilekani. Now please note, Nandan Nilekani was also the chairman of UIDAI, Aadhaar card, if you remember, at one point of time. And Nandan Nilekani is also the co-founder of Infosys, one among many co-founders of Infosys company. And therefore, very simple, GSTN, you give the contract to Infosys, earn billions. Anyways, now are our banks ready? What is the difference? So I'll tell you what is the difference. See, banks earlier, banking will become costly, as simple as that, because banks used to charge 15% service tax. Now they are kept in 18%. So services have become costlier. So which services will become costly? Your debit card will be costly. ATM withdrawal beyond a certain number of free services. See, you can't just go every day and withdraw some money. Now you have to pay money. Then your home loans. If you have any insurance, then your premium will be costly. Your check issue will be costly, draft will be costly, collection of bill will be costly, SMS service will be costly to the banking. Everything is costly. So banking has become costlier. So are you making banking attractive to poor people? Why did you start Jan Dhan Yojana? You started Jan Dhan Yojana because the account can be opened for 0 rupees and you want to make the banking attractive to the poor or rest of the poor. Now the banking is becoming costlier. So I mean, it's like a counter to the original theme, that is you want to have financial inclusion. It is detrimental to the financial inclusion. Another very important problem that the banks will face. And let me tell you, this is banks who are actually saying we are not ready. So the Indian Banks Association, they informed the Parliamentary Standing Committee that we are not ready. Okay, banks have to make a lot of changes in their systems and other procedures. Another major problem what the banks will face is that, look, GST is a destination tax. How is GST different from VAT? See, VAT, after applying VAT, you also applied service tax, but both VAT and service tax, they are consumed by the GST. That is one difference. So that is why some people are saying, oh, earlier we used to pay, like 10% VAT and now 11.5% VAT and now we have to pay 20% GDP, 18% GST. They are not seeing the fact that VAT was not isolated. After applying VAT, you also applied service tax and a host of other taxes. But now GST is only one tax. That is why it is looking larger. So that is to defend GST. Now one major problem with this is that GST is a destination tax. Now let me give you an example of a bank. Let's say ICICI Bank. So ICICI Bank, it has its headquarters in Mumbai. That is, it has a registered office in Mumbai. So it has to pay taxes only from its Mumbai office. Now what has happened? It is a destination tax. So ICICI Bank has to register itself in all the 29 states and 7 union territories. And it has to file the GST from every location. And are banks ready for that? Are banks ready for this much paperwork? No, they are not. Now let me criticize GST further. And these are very, very important issues. Some of the most important issues. Social factors have been ignored. Now let me tell you one reality about India. So there are 33.5 crore women in India who have menstruation. That is vaginal bleeding from vagina every month as a part of their cycle. Now what happens is, when the bleeding is there, women, if they are good, if they are rich, they buy sanitary napkins for that. Okay, but if they are poor, what will they do? Now let me tell you a real thing what women do. So in villages and very very poor areas, government, they wipe off the blood with sand. They put sand on their vagina and they wipe the blood. Now sand has lot of bacteria, virus and insects and worms. Sometimes they enter the vagina of the woman and women get killed because of infection. In fact, lakhs of women have died in India because of this. In fact, there is an NGO which is called Gunj. This NGO Gunj provides very cheap, sanitary napkins so that women can afford it, because the owner of Gunj, the founder of Gunj, he had seen this thing happening in the villages of the India, that women are dying because of vaginal infection. So 88% of women in India, they cannot afford sanitary napkins, and sanitary napkin should have been exempted. But what have you done? You have put it 12% GST on the sanitary napkin. So sanitary napkin as such was not affordable to 88% of the 33.5 crore menstruating women in India. And what have you done? You have put 12% GST on it. So is this a good decision? No. Now let me compare it with kumkum. See, kumkum is a bindi, on forehead. The Indian women put kumkum, bindi, and sindoor on their hairline as a mark of respect for their husband and to protect him and things like that. And also they wear glass bangles. Lot of Indian women, they wear bangles, married women. They are all exempted. Which was more important, the bangles or the sanitary napkins? And bangles are exempted from GST, whereas sanitary napkins are placed under 12% GST. Now let me give you another criticism. India is a country, 39% of the children in India, they are malnutrition. In fact, some numbers say it might be as high as 50%. 39% children in India, they have less height compared to European children. That is, their growth is stunted. They don't get enough food. And baby foods like glucose biscuit, you have put 18% GST. So Parle biscuit will become costly. What are you doing to the country? Already you have children dying of hunger. You have children malnutrition, 39% malnutrition. This is as per the global reports. And you have put it in 18%. Vaccines, polio and everything, you have put 5% GDP. It should have been exempted. And there are some confusing things. For example, if you go to a mom and pop store, a kirana store, you buy dal, rice or any other grain. If it is unbranded, no GST. Okay, if it is unbranded and unorganized, but if it is branded, 5% GST. So, well, I mean, this is really, really sad, because the unbranded product can also be inferior in quality, but still they don't have to pay any tax. And the branded ones, the organized ones have to pay 5% because they are branded. So branded rice, 5% GST, ordinary rice, no GST. So it's very, very confusing, very, very difficult to implement, and social factors have been completely ignored. Now let me tell you another criticism of GST. See, in India, out of every 10 workers, 9 workers, they are in the unorganized sector. Okay, you see your rickshaw wala, you see your this, auto rickshaw guy, you see your this sabji wala, vegetable vendor, all these are unorganized sector. Out of every 10 workers, 9 workers are in the unorganized sector. Now what have you done? If a company, I told you, you have to get registered in every state now, right? So lot of paperwork, lot of red tape, and this will increase the inspector Raj. Lot of corruption, it is giving rise to corruption. Wherever there is more red tape, where official procedures are more, inspector Raj and red tape is a occur, lot of corruption occurs. So you have to get your startup registered in the 29 states. So for example, if there is a small company which wants to do business in all the states of the country, then the total number of filings it has to do is 1029. Can you imagine filling up 1029 papers? And for example, the new tax system requires at least 37 filings for each of India's 29 states in which a company operates. So all these are another things. Now our Revenue Secretary, Dr. Hasmukh Adhia. Who is our Revenue Secretary? Dr. Hasmukh Adhia. He was confronted with some tough questions, and this was his reply to a lot of questions. Like for example, somebody asked him, well, GST is higher than VAT. He said, of course, GST will be higher than VAT, because after VAT you also have to pay service tax. GST is one tax of many, subsumed many. So it will look, of course, higher. Then without computer and internet, you cannot generate invoice, nothing like that. You can simply add GST on your manual slip also. Okay, it's not like you need internet to do business now. And I need internet all the time, nothing like that. Internet is required only when you file your GST and not. So these are some of the myths about GST. Now let me talk about other very important news. See, GST I have covered in depth. Now let me tell you about some other news also. By the way, I told you about fertilizer, remember? I told you that fertilizer, 12% GST they have put. Now they have learned their lesson, and in the latest meeting they have decreased it back from 12% to 5%. Which fertilizers our farmers use NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium fertilizer. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for not potassium, it is phosphorus, and K stands for potassium. Okay, NPK fertilizers are used by the farmers. And fertilizers, you know, there was a revolution for fertilizer which is called the Grey Revolution. Now let me talk about some other news. The President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, he inaugurated a exhibition. So in his last days in office, he is a little extravagant. He is roaming around, and he launched it in Kolkata. And this is at the Academy of Fine Arts. And he also received first two copies of the books. There is a book called Images and Impressions, Profile and Persona of Pranab Mukherjee. And there is another book which is called Pranab Mukherjee 100 Frames. And this books he received from the Governor of West Bengal, Shri Kesari Nath Tripathi. By the way, Shri Kesari Nath Tripathi is now the Governor of Bihar also. He has been given the additional charge of the Bihar also, because Bihar Governor Ramnath Kovind is now the presidential nominee. And I told you about fertilizer, so yeah, I've covered it separately also, I forgot. 12% to 5% again, fertilizer. One very important thing. Our Minister for Chemical and Fertilizer is Shri Anant Kumar, and Anant Kumar said that the price of fertilizer has been fixed. So 50 kg bag of a fertilizer will cost you almost 295.47 rupees. So doesn't matter if you are in Tamil Nadu or Kashmir, you have to pay 295.47. Why they have done this is because, let's say, because of the state GST, it was cheaper in Karnataka than in Tamil Nadu. So there will be smuggling of fertilizer from Karnataka to Tamil Nadu. That is why, to prevent interstate smuggling of fertilizer, there is only one price, which is for 50 kg bag across the country, the price is 295.47. And you know, they have put some more tax, like there is a 10% basic customs duty now on these products. Cellular mobile phone and some part of mobile phone like battery, charger, headphone, receiver, USB cable, keypad and so on. And some electronic goods like, for example, camera module, connectors, display, vibrator and all these things. So not very important, but they have put some extra 10% basic custom duty with effect again from 1st of July 2017. And some other news, two important news. 65 Memorandum of Understanding, they were signed at Textile India 2017. What is Textile India 2017? It is a trade fair, mega level trade fair, India's first ever trade fair. And our textile minister is Smriti Irani. Smriti Irani earlier was HRD minister. Now HRD minister is Prakash Javadekar. And this textile fair, trade fair is taking place in Gandhinagar, which is the capital of Gujarat. And it is also being attended to by the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Vijay Rupani. And Modi also attended it. In fact, Prime Minister Modi inaugurated it because textile is the second largest employer after agriculture in India. Now let's talk about sports. This is the last news for today. So there are total 11 Slum Yuva Daud that our sports ministry has planned, and fourth such Daud means marathon. So there are 11 marathons of the people of the youth that is living in slum that have been planned in Delhi and in many various locations. So 5,000 participants participated, and fourth race is now over. So total how many? 11 races. And who is our Minister for Sports? Vijay Goyal, Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs. So this was the PIB analysis for today. I hope you enjoyed the GST analysis, and tomorrow same time. Okay, see you. Bye.